Hi, welcome back to the garden. Today, we're going to look at the number 5. Let's look alive. The number 5 is really an interesting number. You've got 4 numbers before and 4 number after. This is the linchpin, sort of the tipping point when you're going forward in your personal years. And it's a very interesting number. I'm going to take things a little out of order. I'm going to start with the angel numbers definition of 5. A significant change is occurring, always for the better. It's a good idea to call upon the angels for help when there's lots of change going on. 5 always means change. There's not a sign that it's not your egos out there. It's right there. It is the big change. So for 5, the 5th house in astrology is I love. And it can be I love a person, I learn an art, I'm a creative person, but it's the things you love, the things you're going to spend your time in. And it's also, its zodiac sign is Leo the lion. And we all know Leos because y'all know when you know Leo, because they're Leos. I mean, they are the leaders. They are the persons that are out there presenting themselves. They're very that way. Energy and flamboyance, dramatic, proud, passionate. It focuses on the importance of self-belief, which is that characteristics that Leos have that we like. Now, what they call the planet or the ruler of Leo, it's not a planet. It's our sun. And it is like the Leo, it's out there shining. It's the immortal spirit and purpose, the destiny to all that are involved. And that's where Leo falls in your chart. That's the things that are going to happen around that part of getting your chart done if you have your astrologic chart. And it's one of my old boyfriends from high school. He was the drummer in the band, and he was the one who got all the leads in all the musicals and all that stuff. He's a Leo. He went on, did not go to college, went on, made music his life, and ended up working in movies and doing a lot of other stuff that was absolutely fascinating. I saw him at our 50th high school reunion, and we talked about it. He not only is he a Leo, but he's a 22 life path. So that's another thing altogether. But that and all the Leo and everything else explains why he just has gone through his life having just a wonderful, flamboyant time. You don't know where the party is, but he's there. I mean, he always knows where the party is. So in sacred geometry, whenever I actually have a card in sacred geometry called empowerment, which means change. You're pulling power in. It's the only one of the sacred geometry forms where a pentagram or the points of a pentagram are extremely important to the energy flow of that grid. That's because it's change. It's like flowing one way or the other. It's new experiences. It's freedom. And when I first learned numerology, we'll get to this a little bit later, but I learned that 5 was freedom if it's well disciplined and well run, or it's chaos. And that we've gone through enough of that in the US in the last few years to understand you got a 5 in charge and they're not disciplined, it's chaos. So what are the tarot in this? And the major arcana is the Hierophant. And people go, what does that funny word mean? That actually, I've been told, means Pope in Greek. And if you think about it, the ultimate form that would make people, the ultimate sort of God Inc. is sort of the ultimate archetype of corporate. This guy's on top, then you go to the next guy, you go to the next guy. So they take a great deal of energy and they build this foundation around it, and they form it into something, and that's the church. And what it really stands for is any structure that structures our energy around in our lives. And that's what five's about. So you've gone from, as I told you before, you have the magician, who is your first burst of your own energy. Then you develop the consciousness of the high priestess. You have a mother figure, you have a father figure, and this guy gives you the rules to make your life structure. Now, fives are interesting in the tarot in the minor arcana. I get a lot of people who get this card, and if you've seen this card, it's usually the guy standing over them. But what he's got is he's got 3 cups of spilt wine in front of him, and he's focusing on that. And what he doesn't realize is if he just turns around, if he just makes the change to turn around, he can see that he still has some wine. It's up on, I presume there's wine in those cups, always have. He just needs to change his perspective. So that's the change that's in the 5 of cups. The 5 of swords is this guy, and he means winning at all costs, no matter what, not just beating the crap out of whoever you're fighting with. That's what a lot of people mean that card. And that's what this card says, because you can't see them, but in the background, you see some people who've been vanquished. They're not dead. They just look very unhappy. And that guy looks, I've got my swords. I've got the swords I took off the other guys that don't need their swords anymore. It's a very rough card. I use a different deck when I do my personal readings for people. I use this deck. This is the 5 of swords. And the way I interpret this card is that you've had all these things you've learned in your life. You've collected up all this information, but now you have one thing you need to focus on, one sword you need to hone, one thing you need to make shiny. And this card, that's why you have to look at different decks to see how different things read. That guy, he's changed things brutally and he doesn't care. This person has changed things, but now they want to focus on what they can do the best. So different decks can give you different readings, but they all relate to change. Oh, and these guys, these jerks. Okay. When I was in college, I used to call it the frat boy card. These are guys who fight and argue and beat each other up almost meaninglessly. I mean, they're not really hurting each other. They're just sort of battling it out, and it's just a lot of stress and conflict that you don't really need. It's not like the guy who vanquishes people, but it's certainly not a pleasant way to live your life. So it's a situation that kind of dynamic will bring change, but it's chaos. It's not freedom. And then the other 5 in the tarot is these guys and this group. And it's always someone outside a church with the church light behind them, and they're struggling through the snow. And this is much like the guy with the 5 of cups. If they just turn around, there's a building that theoretically will accept them, bring them in, give them warmth, give them food, help them get better. But they have to take the action. You have to be ready for the change for that to happen. So that's the 5 in the tarot. They talk about regret. They talk about, but they may show a lot of regret. They may show a lot of rethinking. They may show a lot of noise for noise sake, but it means someone has to change something that they're doing right now to move forward. And that's the chaos or freedom. If you choose to look at your situation, move forward, you have freedom. If you don't, you just sit there swirling in chaos. It's not a good thing. In numerology, guess what the number 5 stands for? Change. But in numerology, it's full of energy that can be channeled when correctly used. And you think about it, we have 5 senses, 5 fingers, 5 toes. We also have 5 appendages, 2 arms, 2 legs, and if you count your head as an appendage, that works. There are 5 books in the Torah. There's some other faiths that have modules of 5 in them. I don't know how to say them. I'm sorry. But 5s, for all that energy and all that moving and all that charging forward, Fives can also be incredibly self-indulgent, overindulgent, move things way past the mark where they're supposed to be. And it's a way for us to test our boundaries. So when you see a lot of fives, it means change is coming. You have to decide what you're going to really do with that change at the end of the day. And it's like I said, when you're at 5, look alive. The stone for the number 5 is aquamarine. These are not gem quality aquamarines, obviously. These are going into grids. But it's a beautiful blue stone, and I always put it in, and when the energy of that grid is this person's looking to make some changes in communication, either internally or externally. And I usually put aquamarines in 5s, in little petals of 5, to help strengthen that energy to make those changes. 5's necessary. If we didn't have a 5, we wouldn't move on to 6, you wouldn't move on to the next step. The thing is to figure out how to do 5 with balance, because like I said, 5, chaos or freedom. Freedom, if you work with it right, turn and pick up the cups you do have, turn towards the building where you can find relief. Don't beat up other people unnecessarily. Don't think, might is right. Learn from your life's lessons. Those are all really important elements of 5. And remember, right now we're halfway. If you're doing the 9-year, if you watch my thing about the 9 personal years that each of us have in a cycle, at this point in that cycle, we're halfway through. And we're ready to start working with the information we've built from being the pioneer to learning how to communicate one-on-one, to having our energy flow and communicate broadly, to building a strong base for ourselves. If that base you built in 4 is solid, in 5, you're going to have the freedom to try things and figure out how to integrate that in. But if you go in to the 5 with a lot of regrets, you're going to have to rework it. And you better do it before 6, because you're going to get to 6 anyway, and it's better if you go in strong. Anyway, I will see you later, and I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, like, subscribe, share. I want to thank Andrea again at LilacLantern. I did my first we came up with the Valentine treats. I gave away 2 crystals in a little candy box. And I did the reading today with the lady, and she was absolutely delightful. And I had great fun. I have 2 other people left to do. We gave away 3 of them on her channel. Go over to LilacLantern. I'm going to have a link below to the show where we gave away she gave away a reading. She's got someone she's going to read on Valentine's, and I'll let her tell you the story, but it's really cool. She seems like a really cool guy, and it's going to be fun for her. That's her Valentine's, and she gets to share it. And if the 2 people of all 3 of the people who won in our drawing have already gotten a hold of me, and I'm going to arrange a reading. If you want to know how I work with crystals, in this case, it's specifically that we're going to find 2 crystals that match with an energy thing that's either a treat they want to give to someone else or a treat they want to keep for themselves. And I use the cards. I do some readings. We do some looking at things, and I find 2 crystals that fit in a box about this big, and I tell them how to program those crystals and how to put their intentions in it and what to do. So if you want to know more about how I work and what I do with crystals, aside from what you're learning on this station, contact me at Crystal Directions, and there's an S on the directions, .nancyjean@gmail.com. I'll be glad to send you my price lists. I build big grids. I have little things called crystal compasses. I can make those specifically for what you want to do. And I have about 14 little boxes like this. They're not all red, but boxes like that that I'm going to use up. So I'm going to have a special thing. And it's not just between now and Valentine's. It's till I use up all those little boxes. So if you just want to try out crystals, let me know when you send the email requesting it. And I'm going to have to put a new little paragraph because that's not in my price sheet right now. And that can give you a chance to try out crystals and see if they work for you and if there's something you like having around. Obviously, I do. So anyway, that's it for today. And then we're going to be going on to 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I'm going to have one special wrap-up show where I go into the 11, 22s, 33s, and other special numbers that are out there. So if you have any requests and want to know more about something, please put it in the comments below. I read all the comments, and I really enjoy hearing what you think we should be working on, because my garden was created. I was told to start my garden now to give people a chance to come and learn about a lot of other spiritual and energetic things. And it's a place where we can tear down the fears and the tears of the last few years and have a place that's safe to come to learn how to heal ourselves or how just to do what we do. And I'm here to try and help you do that. I hope you enjoy the show. Any other ideas you have, something you want to learn about, please, like I said, put it in the comments below. Otherwise I have to invent them all by myself. And I'm good at that, but I would like to know what you really want to see and hear.